Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone, and good evening and good afternoon if you are in a different part of the world. It's been a while, and I am using a new headset, so I don't know about the mic quality. Let me do a quick mic check. I'm listening to my live stream on LinkedIn. All right, I think I'm just getting my voice. Okay, I think it sounds good, but just give me a moment. Okay, that's great. I just listened to it. It has uh, very good quality. So now let's get this started. And it's been, I think, more than 3 or 4 weeks, right? Since I did my last live stream. And for those who are completely new to this, I still don't know what this is. My objective goal when I started this was to just talk about any UX topic, right, that I have come across mostly in books, because in the last few years I've been reading a lot of UX books and articles also I do, but not as much as I used to do. So yeah, all the topics that I talk about in this live stream is topics from books that I have read. Right. So now with that, I think let's get started today. I pick some topic beforehand, uh, just before the live stream to talk about it. But yeah, I don't have that now. Let me. And I'm also trying to see if there is a good way to summarize, talk about things that I have come across in audiobooks, right? Because I was listening to this book called Lean UX. So let me search. Okay, I'm using Edge, Microsoft Edge and Microsoft Bing, so don't judge me for that. All right, so let me open this. Yeah, this is the book that I am listening to, and there is about 3 or 4 chapters left. It's a 5 hour long audiobook, and I've completed about 3.5 hours, roughly 3.5 hours, right? And it's a great book. I strongly recommend everyone who's just starting their UX career, to someone who's trying to manage a team or at a leadership level at an organization, be it a CEO, VP of products, product manager, group product manager, director of products, whatever your title is, even engineers, right? So you can together get to that design maturity, and the things that they talk about are insane. And it's nothing, I'm sure I can bet, it's nothing that you would imagine. All right. And it's a very, 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 very lean approach to UX, and not any of your traditional approaches to UX. So yeah, that's something that I am listening to. But let's get back to my library, Kindle library, and see what we can talk about today. Yeah, for those, again, just to give you a recap, we talked about some of the things from 100 things every designer needs to know about people, information architecture, the design of everyday things, interaction design. I don't remember whether I talked about uh, UX management methods. I'm so used to saying we in design meetings, as interview meetings, or any product meetings. It's just becomes a force of habit. And I want to talk about this book at some point. I don't think we did. I did. Correction. And it's a very sensitive topic, right? The name of the book is The Inmates Are Running the Asylum. And it's very clickbaity title. Now, what they talk about is how, again, like I said, I'm not, I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible and not insensitive, but there is no other way to summarize this book, right? They talk about how engineers do a very bad job at designing experiences, right? And It is written by, if I am not wrong, it is written by an engineer who turned into a designer. And they take a lot of examples when engineering teams try to design the experience from their perspective and not users' perspective, and how miserably it failed. Right, and definitely this is something that I want to talk about at some point. I know I'll get a lot of flake for this when I talk about it, but it's important for anyone in product development or product design, or generally anyone who's involved in building any product. Right? It's important for them to read this book, or at least a summary of what they talk about in this book. Okay, design sprint. Okay, maybe design sprint is a good topic to talk about. I've conducted maybe two or three design sprints in my last company. So before I talk about it, it's been quite some time also since I read this book, and it's a very short read. I don't think it's more than 100 or 120 pages. So let me see. Kindle store. Clicked on Kindle store. Okay, takes me to generic Kindle store. I thought it'll take me to that product page, that books page. Hmm. Okay, yeah, it's about, oh, okay, it's 275 pages. I did not expect that. Okay, so what I am going to do, I remember reading multiple articles on design sprint, and they give you a summary of what you do in a design sprint, and it they typically give you a 5-day calendar and the list of activities to do on each day. Right. So let's go to the official website, and this was for those who are not familiar with design sprint and hearing about this for the first time. Design sprint is a process, I would say, uh, to figure out solutions, right, for big picture items, right, and for strategic items. The problem has to be big enough to begin with, and that's what they recommend also when you go through the book or the audiobook or any other article. And then you spend 5 days to work through the solution for that problem. And this was developed in Google. I'm forgetting the name of the two folks who uh, came up with this or invented this. And yeah, they use this in many companies now, and they use this across Google. Right. So now, yeah, this gives you a high level. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. Just give me a second. I'll see if I have switched. Okay, I have switched. Okay, so this is your 5-day calendar, right? Now, on Mondays, you start with identifying the problem statement and go one level ahead and see what is the current flow, all right, and where does your problem fit, or what are the different flows your problem statement affects, and then try to pick a couple of targets, right? And I am being a little apprehensive because, like I said, it's been quite some time since I did this. Right? So let's go through this together. Now, Monday is a series of structured conversations. Okay, blah blah blah. In the morning, you'll define key questions and a long-term goal. Okay, next you'll make a simple map of your product or service, and okay, all right. So yeah, on day one, you try to, yeah, map out the different journeys in your application, and you also bring in experts on your application, power users for your application, and ask them, uh, what do you think about this map, or what do you think about these flows, and ask them, okay, do you think something is missing or something doesn't look right? And if the answer is yes, what do we need to change? Right? And of course, all of these links tell you what to do. And let's go through this checklist and see what they have. Monday. Okay. Okay, this is a much more detailed explanation of activities for Monday. So you set a long-term goal, and when I say long-term goal, it's about, yeah, 2 years, 5 years, that kind of a goal, and not something that you want to accomplish, let's say, in a month's time or in weeks time or 2 weeks time, right? And yeah, then we talked about making a map of different user journeys, the different goals that your user may want to achieve inside your product, etc. Right, and then yeah, ask the experts in your domain, experts are power users of your application, and so on. And then you also do this exercise. Okay, this is something that we did not cover. All right. So together as sprint participants, I'll also talk about who are what are all the different roles in the design sprint. Right. Now, what are how might we notes? Now, how might we is an exercise that you do on day one, where you talk about or think about how will you improve a certain aspect of your product, right? A certain aspect of your experience, and everyone does this, right? Every participant in the design sprint, every role in the design sprint does this. Right, and then you again vote on it. So circle your most important customer and one target moment of the map. Okay, let me go through the rest of the items also, so I can cover it a little more holistically and not just this particular portion. Okay, facilitated tips. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, you also vote on this how might we notes, and before even voting, you again organize these how might we notes, right? Because you will see duplicates or very similar how might we's when when let's say there are about 7 or 8 participants in a design sprint, and each of them contribute 3 or 4 how might we's, then that's about roughly 25 to 30 how might we's. All right, and you will see repeated items, like I said, and very similar items in those how might we's. Now, what do you do when they say organize, right? You try to group them under any logical categories or sensible categories, right? And some of the categories could be, okay, this is a certain type of goal, right? This falls under all of these how might be falls under a certain type of goal that the user want to achieve in the product. Or another could be, and you then go on and segregate all the how might we's by goals, right? And it's not hard and fast that every topic should be a goal. It can be a combination of, okay, how might we's organized by goal, and a couple of how might we categories which are maybe very customer support centric. Right, basically you try to come up with broad categories under which you can group these how might be's, and then as a group you vote on, and when I say group I mean the participants, right? You vote on these how might be's, and everyone gets 2 votes, as it says. But yeah, if you have too many how might be's, and you have too little, too few participants, then maybe up to 3 votes or 4 votes is also fine. And do not cheat and vote more than that, because depending on the tool, you may or may not be able to put constraints on how many votes a person can cast. Right. So yeah, then you go through this exercise of voting, and believe it or not, more often you will end up having a winner, right? And there are very few occasions where you will have tie breaks, or you will have to have tie breaks, right? And that is a good segue to the participants or the roles in sprint. And let's see if they have the list of roles here. Set the stage, sprint room. Okay, 5 days. Okay, Australia, get time in and blah blah blah. Okay, what are all the roles? Just give me a moment while I find the participants. For some reason, my system is acting up and it's very slow. I don't know why. Okay, before your sprint begins. Okay, okay, yes. So these are all the general checklist before you start the sprint. What you have to do. Right. So choose a big challenge. Like I said, it has to be big enough, and it cannot be very small problem. Then it's not a good fit for a design sprint. And I think I will talk about this in another episode because I want to do a little more research before I talk about it, and I don't want to mislead you guys. Right. But yeah, I'll definitely talk about why a small problem is not a good fit for design sprint. And I know a small problem is not a good fit because I have read about it in the past and how what are the cons to it. And there are not many pros to solving a small problem with a design sprint. Now, all right, so that's the first step. All right, and coming to the roles, you get a decider, and it is, I think, in my personal experience, it's good to pick just one decider so you can keep the focus. Uh, Anything more than that, then you get into the debate mode, and uh, the conversation can digress. All right, so get a decider, and this person have or given the authority to pick anything at any given point in time. They become the ultimate decision authority, right? And they mostly take decisions in line with what other participants have voted for. Uh, the item with the most votes. But sometimes what the decider can see may or may not be the same thing that the participants see, right, or vice versa. Now, in those cases, the decider gets absolute veto to pick something, that is not the most popular item, right, or the most voted item in any voting stage. And there are multiple times when you vote on items in throughout the design sprint process. Right, and this decider is usually the head of the business unit or VP of products or VP of something or product manager, anyone who takes calls in what goes into implementing in your product, right? Because they must have the buy-in on what you want to do at the end of the sprint, because otherwise you'll just shell whatever you have made during the course of the sprint, and it'll all be for nothing. Right? That's why it's important to pick a decider who will ultimately execute the solution or the vision that you come up with after the design sprint. So that's the decider. Right now, sprint team, 7 people or fewer. Sorry, I was wrong. I said I think at some point 7 or 8 people. It has to be seven or fewer, and they must be very diverse. And when I say diverse, I mean it typically involves engineers, designers, your customer support staff, maybe your quality team, and not just designers. That's the point, right? Your product managers and so on, and you will also have the next item, experts, right? Experts are people who are uh, either very close to the domain that you work in. And sometimes people also bring uh, entrepreneurs, people who have been there, done that, who have run a business, even if it is uh, a completely different domain, right? And of course, you can also, and I think you should also recruit SME, matter experts in your product area, and also power users. Right, so that's another set of people you have to recruit before the design sprint, and all of this, remember, must happen before the design sprint starts, right? So that you can keep everyone involved and so on. Now, the next role is a facilitator, and this facilitator will manage time conversations because these are all very time boxed activities. All the activities that you come across in the design sprint are time boxed. They have a limited set of time. Some activities are just given, the participants are given only 1 or 2 minutes to come up with a quick sketch. And some activities are given maybe 2 hours for a discussion. And even those discussions, you pick up an agenda before you start that discussion, right? And then so on. And the facilitator again gets an absolute veto in terms of when you start an activity and when you stop an activity, right? And it's very important to have uh, very clearly defined roles and have an open mind to support each other, to support the facilitator, to support the decider, to support even the rest of the team and hear them out when people are sharing their opinions. Because whenever you have 7 people in a room, the chances of very, very different perspectives and very different views being there is very high. Right. So it's a very, very close knit collaborative process. And before the pandemic, it used to and very highly recommended to happen physically, right, together in a meeting room and the whole day for a whole week. But yeah, with this new normal, I think it happens more frequently in remote sessions. But again, the important thing is coming up with an open mind and listening to each other and respecting the time that is set for each activity. And also, it's very important for the facilitator or whoever who is planning ahead to clearly communicate all of these things ahead of the design sprint and share what is a design sprint, what are the activities we would do, and how much time it would take, and so on. And if needed, I think, when I did this, I did mock design sprint activities before the design sprint, so that the participants have some expectation, some idea of what they will be doing when they come to the design sprint. Right. So yeah, those are some of the things that you have to do before the sprint. And the more and more I talk about this, I think I'll probably do this in the next 4 or 5 days. Each day I'll talk about the things you would do on a particular day, and then I'll add that as an episode. Thinking out loud, I may combine more than one day also in one of the episodes. Now, coming back to the items. Now, block 5 full days on the calendar. This again is, you can be flexible because many times you may not be able to find 5 full days, especially when you want to include up to 7 participants. Right. Now, I would still highly recommend you do this activity for at least 3 full days. And the reason being, uh, it takes that much time to come up with solution for uh, which you want to find a come up with a solution for the problem that you have in mind. And I think it's important, and it goes to say that the challenge is big enough and important enough that all of these people are willing to invest that time, right? And it shows a commitment towards solving that problem. And otherwise, there's something wrong with the problem that you have picked, and maybe it's not very important if people are not willing to invest that time, right? And even in those 3 days, even if you cannot do it full day, it must be at least 4 or 5 hours a day, right? Uh, Again, this is the minimum that I would recommend from my experience, and it takes that much time, and we could not complete any day's activity in less than that time. Right, so do at least 4 or 5 hours a day and at least 3 days. And you can either choose to do the last 2 days, the activities in the last 2 days outside of the sprint separately, and maybe meet for 1 hour, 1 hour or 2 hours once, because the last 2 days of activity is very solution focused, right? And testing the solutions with customers, and you may or may not need everyone to be present either virtually or on remote all the time, right, during those activities. So yeah, that's the penultimate item. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Now, the last item is book a room with whiteboards. And this again, when you are doing it remotely, just make sure you have some whiteboarding tools like FigJam or Mural or Miro, any of those things, or even if you believe, you can do it just Microsoft PowerPoint, because more than one people can work on a PowerPoint at the same time, or even Google Slides for that matter. Right, so pick something that everyone is familiar with, and which something that doesn't involve too much training, right? And pick something that people are already familiar with. Now, no distractions, time box. Like I said, all the activities are time boxed. Plan for a late lunch. Again, depending on how many hours you are going to put down for this. And no distractions. Again, if you are doing this remotely, make sure you tell your participants to refrain from attending other calls or other meetings throughout these activities, because it can dilute the process, and it can basically uh, be very, very less effective, right? I was trying to find the right word for it. Yeah, it'll be very less effective otherwise, compared to otherwise. Now, sprint supplies, I think we can skip that. You'll mostly need, if you are doing this remotely, just a whiteboarding tool. And if you are not, it's just all of these things. And I'll post this link also in the video description after the live stream, so you can go through the supplies and prepare for this. So yeah, let's do a quick time check and see how long have I been live streaming. Okay, it's about 30 minutes. Now let me switch to this. So this is excellent, and I think I'll be doing this much more regularly from today. And yeah, and I'm always excited with these live streams, because it definitely helps me. Uh, Okay, I'm sorry about that. It was Madhu, my wife, got a little distracted. She, I think, brought breakfast and thought I was in a meeting, and she realized that I am on a live stream. Anyway, coming back to this is something that I enjoy doing, and I kind of felt a little bad that I did not do it the last few weeks, but I think from today, I will be doing every day. Right, I'm going to commit myself to it, and no matter what, I am gonna try and do it. So I was doing it on all weekdays, so I will continue to do that, and I'll probably, because I am resuming after a long time, will do on weekends as well, to make up for that last time. So with that, I think we are good for today, and I'll meet you guys tomorrow and see what are all the activities. I'll do a quick recap of the Monday activities, and we'll go through Tuesday activities tomorrow. Yeah, until then, ciao.